Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here with a celebratory video about the Catalans voting for independence. 89% of them, despite the government's wishes, Spain's wishes, that they wouldn't be able to vote at all, cast their votes and they voted for independence. We're going to talk about that in a second and about what the boot stomping on the face of humanity looks like, because that's what it looked like earlier today in Catalonia. But first, I just want to play this amusing clip from this atrocious Bitcoin channel. This young Jewish man was celebrating Yom Kippur, and he made it clear to his audience that that's why he was wearing his suit. And evidently, somebody sent him my interview with Andy Hoffman, the one that resulted in Andy Hoffman being released from Miles Franklin. And I'm not in the habit of targeting little channels. This guy has 12,000 subscribers, but he named me specifically, and here's what he said about my channel and what we do at SGT Report.
And it's with the SGT Report, one of these doom porn channels that, you know, Andy goes on these channels. During the video, he says he's not going to go on this kind of similar crazy channels anymore. I would never not go on some of these doom porn channels because they border on like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Let's not get into that side of things here, but.
Yeah, well, let's get into that side of things here. It's amusing to me that because he's Jewish, he so eagerly throws out the anti-Semitism card. We have never been anti-Semitic, never not once at SGT Report. We talk about Zionism and the plague of Zionism. And this Bitcoin fool may not understand the history of the Rothschild central banks and the plague of Zionism, and the plague of Zionism on his own homeland, I suppose he would call it, Israel, which is essentially a Rothschild-controlled estate, as are almost every central bank on the face of this planet. The plague is Zionism, and it's not anti-Semitic to discuss it. And so I wanted to address that, and I think some of the comments below actually sum up quite nicely what people feel about this guy. Isabel writes, trying to look trustworthy in that suit, Adam? This circus is getting worse by the episode. And somebody else wrote, this Jew is unaware of the lies his dangerous cult propagates, and I think therein is the rub. Saying such things these days is instantly considered anti-Semitic by the ADL, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and by characters such as this guy. But little does he know, little does he want you to know, that the plague on planet Earth, the #1 enemy of humanity, is Zionism and the Zionist-controlled central banks. Period. They make the funny money, they create it out of thin air, and they enslave nation states with the debt they create. That's a fact. And I don't care if you're Jewish, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, or if you're agnostic or atheist. That is a fact. What I've just shared is 100% fact, and it's not anti-Semitic. Now back to the celebration in Catalonia. It will probably be short-lived, guys, because Spain, the Spanish government, has said it will not recognize the vote. It will not recognize Catalonia's independence or autonomy from Spain. And if you want to see what a boot stomping on the face of humanity looks like, look no further than what went on today. And I'll show you some of those videos in a second. Now, ironically, in a speech earlier in the evening, Spanish Prime Minister Rajoy, who tried to suppress the vote by jailing public officials and shutting down electronic voting machines, ordering police to manually destroy ballots and seal off polling places, declared that no referendum had taken place. In public remarks delivered following a speech by Rajoy, Carles Puigdemont said that with this day of hope and suffering, the citizens of Catalonia have won the right to an independent state in the form of a republic. The Spanish government today has written a shameful page in its relationship with Catalonia, and he says the Catalan government will transmit to the Catalan parliament the seat and expression of the sovereignty of our people, the results of the referendum, so that it can act according to that laid out in the referendum law. And we're going to scroll down just to show you how brutal it got. That was the scene earlier today as Spanish police were hitting the peaceful protesters with rubber bullets and being extremely violent, injuring some 700 plus Catalonians. And here's one of those rubber bullets. And one of the witnesses said they were deliberately firing those rubber bullets at people's heads. But what I found particularly disturbing today were videos of these Spanish police and special forces trying to break through windows and doors to access the polls in the polling places to take the polling machines and prevent people from voting. Can you think of a more tyrannical or fascist illustration of violence?
Imagen en directo, la Guardia Civil entrando en el Colegio de San Julián de Ramis en Girona, donde tenía previsto votar el presidente de la Generalitat, Carlos Puigdemont. Hay un candado en la puerta. Por eso están...
And the Russian Market Twitter account wrote, "Knock knock, Catalonia, who's there? Democracy." They wanted to prevent this vote at all costs. As the EU crumbles and as the New World Order masterminds lose control of the people, their only solution is violence. The violence of the state. And this was a particularly disturbing video. Once police were inside polling places, here's how they were acting, all in the name of the democracy they so clearly fear. I'll tell you what, if this doesn't give you a pause, I mean, even the Catalonian firemen and fire departments were trying to stand with the people to prevent the police from delivering violence. This is an illustration of what the state does. This is the problem with government. This is the problem with world government. When people want autonomy, when they want their sovereignty, and when they rebel against the government, when they merely try to express themselves through democratic vote, they are met with violence. Because the state is bankrupt. The EU is bankrupt, morally and otherwise, and their only response, their only recourse to try to keep it all stitched together is violence. So the results are in, and 89% of Catalans have voted for independence from Spain, and we've seen the reaction. And I think it's the same reaction that we will one day see when Texas or another state within the 50 states decides to rebel against a fascist and out-of-control federal government by seceding and turning to states' rights and states' rule and state sovereignty. What we've seen here in Catalonia is just a sample of what tyrannical governments around the planet resort to when their iron-fisted rule is at risk. Their only recourse is violence. Thanks for watching, and for real news 24/7, visit us at sgtreport.com.
You know, I would imagine that it's pretty tough to take your own life the way it's talked about here, and that, you know, maybe somebody was with him at the time to hold him down as he fought in the last minute.